I'm one of your hosts, named Cardinal. I'm here as always with Michael Swampy. How you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing good.
It's good to see you.
Doing really good. Yep.
It's good to see you. Man, I need a haircut. Just looking at myself in the mirror here. And yeah, I look bush league. But another note. Yeah, it's good to be back here with you for our second episode. How about that? How are you feeling after that first episode, Mike?
Yeah, I feel good. It's been just a couple days since we recorded, and we only just released it not too long ago. But it's nice. It's a good feeling. Now we're addicted to the stats. Now we're addicted to the uploads. How many people downloaded our podcast?
It's been great for me too. I've really like watching all of like the views go up and stuff, and getting those emails about how many times our podcast has been downloaded. It's been something else. Like I didn't know what to expect, but it's been really awesome, and I'm really happy that we're finally doing this. Yeah. So what are your thoughts after that last episode? Like, what did you, after you listened to us, and I know you listened to the episode, I did a couple times. What are your thoughts as we're moving forward? Anything come to mind? Anything you want to change, or anything that really stood out to you that we talked about, or how we did things?
Yeah. Once you get beyond the self-consciousness of your own speaking and learning how to stop saying and ums all the time, once you get beyond that fact, you it's exciting. I don't know how else to say it. I have no words for what we're doing. It's something that I'm excited about. I don't know what else to say. I'm at a loss for words right now.
Totally. I really enjoyed recording the last episode, and I've been looking forward to recording this one. So it's Tuesday night for us. You're probably going to hear this on Monday, and it's been, I think, like 2 days, like you said, since we released our first episode, and I've just been into being a podcaster, I guess. It's a good way to hang out with each other. Like, we're always in contact with one another all throughout the day, and in just planning and thinking about our next steps, and like even with the social media aspect of it.
Absolutely. I think when you had sent that message about our podcast officially being on Apple, Spotify, that's when it was official. That's when we actually became podcasters.
Yeah, that's when it felt official for me too.
Yes, my wife was asking me if it's kind of nerve-wracking doing this, and I said absolutely. But I'm confident in the story we're trying to tell. And so, if you're confident in what you believe in what you're putting out there, and you're confident that people actually will care and understand and will listen, that uneasiness kind of goes away.
Yeah, and I think that uneasiness, or maybe that little bit of anxiety, comes from us wanting to do this with care, and like really trying to approach it in the right way, in a way that represents us, our families, our communities, all like the people we know in the basketball community itself, and just trying to do that in the right way. And a lot of things came to my mind after that first episode, and listening to some of the things that I said and the way I said it. And like sometimes you can come off sounding like a way that you didn't mean to. And like one of the things that really stood out for me was when I said like I didn't receive proper coaching. Like that has been on my mind constantly since I listened back to that. And I felt like a complete ass about it, because I mean, I've coached for a long time, and I know the time and energy that goes into it, and you do your best no matter what. And like, I don't think anyone was like really thinking I was going to be playing at a next level, or maybe anyone on our team was going to be. I'm not too sure what the approach was, but I understand my coaches did the best that they could with what they had, and they were probably surprised that I wound up playing at a college level and being on a college team, because I probably wasn't I know I wasn't very good. Just like when I think back to those days, and especially that experience I had when I got to Edmonton, I knew where I was and where I needed to be, and that was just not matching up. And I know that a lot of that was because I wasn't just there, and I'm not blaming anyone in particular for that. So I've been like really thinking about that and kind of feeling like a jerk for the way my words came out.
Well, like I said, like I had mentioned to you just through text and our conversations, we're we're telling the honest truth. We're telling our experience, and I think that's important for people to understand because there are tons of other people out there that have experienced the exact same thing, especially those who live in rural areas. You're going to be you're going to have a phys ed teacher who doesn't necessarily know the game of basketball or the game of volleyball. Like, just thinking about my own community and where I work at, I was kind of thrust in those positions as well. Like, I know nothing about volleyball, but hey, I became the best junior high volleyball coach there was. In my mind, I was.
Yeah, that's back when you were the stash.
Yeah, it's making a comeback.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike had this great mustache going on that year. He was coaching junior volleyball. That was back when I was working in Enoch, and our teams always played against each other. They were tournaments and just like regular season games and stuff. And Mike was there walking around the gym with just like the most glorious mustache you ever saw.
I remember you took a Snapchat of me sitting on the bench, and I was sitting there just rubbing my stash like this, just thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see me tell the kid standing in position 5 or whatever, just move a little more to the left after you
Yeah.
miss the serve. That's my best volleyball coaching I've ever done. Just move a little to the middle, where the ball came.
Yeah, those are fun times. I definitely miss that a lot about being in a high school. So did you hear any feedback? Like, did anyone reach out to you or share any of their thoughts with you after they listened to the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. As you can, if you're watching on YouTube, you could probably see that Name and myself have some new backgrounds behind us. We were getting heckled on having a red and blurry backgrounds. No, I think the feedback in general has been quite positive, and it's kind of given me a boost throughout the day, seeing all the shares and the likes and people really supporting us and believing in the work that we're doing. So far, the feedback has been, primarily positive, and I've been enjoying that for sure.
Well, that's great to hear. I've been receiving a lot of positive feedback too. There's a lot of people who are happy that we're doing this together. Just saying good things about the last podcast. And I just want to read a message from one of my friends who lives in another province and shared some thoughts with me after they after they heard the podcast. They said, it was a great first episode, Name. Well done to both of you. I'll share it with a few of the basketball players on our team here. We've got 3 guys who come from similar basketball roots at my school that I think will really connect with your story. I also think the academic side of your journey and how basketball pushed your success and things beyond basketball will inspire them a lot. Nice work. And I really appreciate that really heartfelt message. And it made me think about the possibilities of where this can go. And, you don't intentionally tell those stories to try impact, you're hoping they do, but you're sharing those stories so people can hear them, and wherever they might lead. And it's great to hear that there's a possibility that someone can connect with what Mike and I were sharing at the last episode.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm excited to share that after the first episode, one of our former students that we've had the chance to coach, they're actually looking at a redshirting position are coming up within the next year or so for next year. And he actually approached me and was asking me online if you should take it. And I said, absolutely. You never know what's going to happen, man. And so
Man,
he's
that's
been
awesome.
following along on following along, listening to our pod, and so it's already happening. It's super cool.
That's awesome. And who knows, maybe one day they could have their own podcast too.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the real reason why we do this and the real reason why we become teachers is so that the younger generation can just take over the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Me and you aren't going to be doing this till we're 90. That's for sure.
No, that's for sure. I'd like to retire at a decent age. So we have a new segment to our podcast. We have something that's called the Starting Five, which is essentially a shout out section for our podcast. People we want to recognize. We'll do our best to include new people in it each week. And we just want to acknowledge these people for supporting us or for doing special things out there. There could be a lot of reasons behind it, but we're going to include this in every single episode. And Mike, who do you have for your starting five this week?
My first shout out of my starting five goes to Talon Weaselhead. He is currently, and the rankings just came out for ASAA high school basketball here in Alberta. And he's been ranked third in Alberta for the St. Mary's Saints. And Talon is actually the son of Charlton Weaselhead, a good friend of ours. And Charlton has played university ball and has been a good friend of Name and I, and we just want to say congratulations to Talon. That's huge, being third ranked, especially for 4A schools. I forgot to mention that it's 4A school, and so congratulations, Talon.
That's deadly.
My next three shout outs go to our three commentators on YouTube. Thank you. Hi, Ish Nish. Yeah, any type of engagement on our platforms, our social platforms, is huge for the program, huge for the pod. So we really appreciate it. And then my final shout out goes to the people who roasted us both on the video quality of our YouTube video and our backgrounds of our podcast. Much appreciated. We take the feedback and we try our best to, make it better. We want to make it the best.
Yeah, like my old coaches, we're doing our best here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So my starting five, one of my starting fives is my wife and kids. Just shout out to my wife for supporting me in doing this podcast. She's gone out with the kids right now, so I could record with Mike. You're a real one. I appreciate that a lot. I love you. And yeah, my second member of my starting five this week goes to Michael Swampy. Just want to say thank you for sharing in this with me, being a part of this. And we had no idea the scope of work that goes into this before we got started, but we are slowly figuring that out. And I couldn't do this without Michael. So thank you very much, Michael. And then next, a few people who have helped me out a lot in getting this started. Just want to give a shout out to the Hockey Cards Gong Show. I collect hockey cards as kind of as a hobby, and I connected with these guys, and they have their own podcast, and they have a few thousand followers on Instagram. They got a lot of people who subscribe to them. And when I reached out to them and told them that we were starting a podcast, they were so helpful. They were just sending me like lists of things that we should do in order to prepare and how to get this done. And I'm really thankful to the Hockey Cards Gong Show and all the help that they've given. Also,
wait, before you go to your next one, I just want to say that Name's being humble about his hockey card collection. Follow him on Indigenous Hockey Cards. It ain't no hobby, that's for sure.
It's one of those other things I do in my spare time little spare time that I have. Yeah. And another shout out goes to my buddy Carlos, who has his own podcast as well. I reached out to him over a year ago now to ask him about this. He gave us a lot of advice as well. And it was really helpful for us. And then I also want to give a shout out to the Res Hockey podcast, who are also on my starting five this week. just really thankful for all the inspiration that they give me personally, just through all the good work that they do in the community, through their podcast, and yeah, trying to do the best that they can for the hockey community. So that's my starting five this week.
Absolutely. Podcasters supporting podcasters. Love to see it. Okay, name. So moving on. This year's a special year for us as podcasters, but it's especially special for Namer, who is celebrating his 10-year anniversary of his Achilles tear. Name, please. I gotta ask you, how's it feel? You know, recovering from that type of injury.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 10 years, and honestly, it changed me a lot. It changed my perspective on a lot of things. Going from someone who has sports as a huge part of your life and having to go through a recovery and trying to get your ability back for things like you take for granted every day, like just being able to walk, and going through physio and having to teach yourself how to walk again and to do all these different movements, really puts things into perspective for you. So a lot of thinking that I've done, especially after, like, I haven't played basketball a whole lot since then, and it's not because like I physically can't. It's just because I've my almost like my desire to play as much as I did changed after that. I still love basketball and enjoy playing, but just being able to put the work and effort into being able to play alongside someone like you, Mike, is would be a lot of work for me right now, and it's just because I've been away from basketball for so long. But it really puts things into perspective for you when you go through an injury like that. And it's been 10 years, but it feels like yesterday. Like
yes,
looking at pictures of me on a hospital bed and stuff. That
yeah,
I feel like it was that long ago.
Yeah, I remember the day you texted me and told me that. I was gutted for you. And getting an injury like that is so it takes a toll on you physically. Obviously, you got to do a lot of rehab, and it takes several years before you're back to normal. But like just emotionally and mentally, like it takes a huge toll on just how you think about sports and how you go about even just going to play pickup now, right? It's always in the back of your head, like, oh man, if it happens again and I got to go through this and this again, it just kind of snowballs, has a snowball effect for sure. I do have minor experience. I have a torn MCL right now, and then I got surgery on my other knee. But I'm sure there's hundreds of people out there with knee injuries and some Achilles injuries because of basketball.
Yeah, we definitely put our bodies through it. And the thing was, I wasn't even playing basketball when I tore my Achilles.
Oh yes,
I was playing indoor touch football in a league for fun, and just to keep myself in shape and stuff, and moving around. And yeah, then my Achilles tore.
So you're not going to tell them that you were the leading catch receiver for touchdowns in the league? Is that true?
No.
Is that right? Damn it! You're supposed to say, "Oh, it was totally worth it." You know, I was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was killing in the league.
I was killing it.
If it wasn't for my Achilles tear, I probably would have been the league leader.
Yeah, could have went all the way.
Yeah.
All right. So recently, Mike was playing in a basketball tournament. The Stanley Junior Big Plume Memorial Tournament was held in Sutina. It was put on by the family of Stanley Jr. Mike and I both knew Stanley Jr. Just a really big name in the Indigenous basketball community, someone that we respected and looked up to. And the family has been putting on the tournament as a memorial for him the last couple of years. And Mike was there, I think it was 2 weeks ago now.
Yep, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it was when Alberta had that major cold snap, and it was minus 50 out.
Perfect
and
time
we
to
all drove.
travel to play basketball. How'd that go? Like, what was the entire weekend like? Just fill us in on what you saw and how you guys did.
Yeah, so the tournament was very well run. I'll say shout out to Waylon Big Plume. He's the one that's been organizing the basketball tournament. And Waylon does an awesome job. He's been sort of the program director out in Sutina for the last couple of years, and he's sort of been known for running really good well-run tournaments. These last two tournaments he's been running the last 2 years, they've been big tournaments, and it actually draws a lot of teams from Western Canada's teams from Saskatchewan, um, all the way as far as Manitoba. There was a team from BC, and then there was I think 3 teams from the States. The competition was so good. It was awesome. And then even prior to the tournament starting, or even after the first 2 games, they sort of had a introduction and sort of talked about what the tournament's about, and talked about what kind of person Stanley was. And I thought that was really cool. It's a tournament that honors and respects and celebrates the life of Stanley. And I thought that was really cool. And it was pretty interesting just thinking about how many people knew who he was. When I first met him, I was 13, I think. It was 2000 and I want to say 2005 or 2006, before Neg was in Denver that year. And he came out and helped out with the basketball, U14 basketball. And yeah, he was just an overwhelming presence. He was a big guy. I remember him always showing up in his Kevin Garnett Timberwolves jersey, and he would practice against us. And yeah, he was always a lovable guy. We have a couple stories about he would come to tournaments just to watch, but then he would end up playing because we would be missing, we'd be missing 3 of our 8 guys from the night prior. But no, he was a very lovable guy, and the tournament was just a blast. The only downside was it was -50 out, and the gym was cold. It was freezing, and you would get up in the morning from your hotel room, and I got up 6 a.m. just to start my car, and I would get to my car, and it was a literal ice box. Like, you go in there and everything's frozen, and oh, thank God I have a newer vehicle that it actually started. But overall, it was an amazing experience. It was fun. We finished, I think, 4th or 5th. We ended up losing. We won 2, then we lost 2. We lost to the first and second place teams. Lost to a legendary Mike Linklater in our final game. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a really tough tournament. You guys had a really nice squad though, and I think you were really competitive, and from my own experience and from what I've seen over the years, like I went to a lot of tournaments that Waylon organized, and you're exactly right. They are always just spot on, like the way a tournament should be. Everything's on time for the most part. There's concession. There's volunteers. It's just so smooth, and it looked like it was the same way this year. I did catch a little bit of it on Facebook Live, and it looked like there were some really really good players there.
Yeah, and having volleyball, basketball, and hockey all in the same area, it's really cool. You get to see a lot of people that don't play basketball, but you know them as a hockey player, and you get to say hi, and like we've mentioned in our first podcast, it's all about the relationships that we build, and being able to see people face to face is quite nice, and seeing people is nice. It's quite enjoyable.
Love to see it. Okay, so coming up February 1st to 3rd in Kelowna at Kelowna Secondary School is the Western Canada Basketball Tournament. This is one of the biggest tournaments for high school players in Western Canada. There's a lot of really strong teams that usually attend this every year. Just from what we've seen so far, at this next tournament, there's going to be the Oak Bay Boys from Victoria, the St. George Saints from Vancouver, Samayamu Thunderbirds from Surrey, the hosts Kelowna Owls, Holy Trinity Northern Knights from Fort McMurray, St. FX Rams from Edmonton, who Mike and I are both familiar with. Neighbors to Mike's school growing up. Yeah, giving the thumbs down. I know about that rivalry. Raymond Comets, and also the St. Paul Crusaders are going to be there from Winnipeg this year. So it's going to be a big tournament. I'm hoping to go out and catch a couple games because I'm here in Kelowna. But Mike, you have some experience playing in this tournament when you were in high school. What year did you attend, and what was it like?
We attended the Kelowna tournament in 2010, I believe. When we went, I just want to say, even before I get into my story, that this year's tournament is actually pretty cool because Raymond is, and we talked about the ASAA rankings just at the start of the pod, introducing the starting five, but Raymond's ranked number 2 right now in the province. And so they're going to have a really, really strong, solid squad to bring to BC. And then ranked number 5 is FX. Actually, they're ranked higher than JP this year. Their program's been really strong. FX, even when I was at JP, like they beat us in the 3rd place game when I was in grade 10. Sorry, when I was in grade 12. But yeah, they're going to be ranked number 5 this year. They are ranked number 5 this year, and they're going to play in BC. So that's going to be cool to watch for sure. Kelowna always brings really good talent. When I went, I think it was Oak Bay. There was White Rock, which was southern BC. Close, I think that's close to the States, right? White Rock.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the border.
Kitsilano was there, and St. George's, I think, was there. So St. George's had Emerson Murray at that time. And going into that tournament back when we played Emerson Murray, everybody was talking about this guy, Emerson Murray, and I got to match up and play against him. He ended up going to play Div 1 at the University of California, the Golden Bears there. And let me tell you, he was a spectacular player. He actually went on, and in the little bit of my research, and both you and me were kind of shocked when we saw this, he won 3A provincials in BC on a game winner against the Scrub brothers, Phil and Tommy Scrub, who obviously have long pro careers now and playing in Europe. But that was it's pretty cool. So basically, I defended him, made him compete, become better, and strong enough to beat the Scrub brothers. I'm living by that.
Thank you, Michael Swampy.
Yeah. I think in that tournament we ended up finishing 4th or 5th. Like we had a really good team. We were the top ranked team coming out of Edmonton that year. I think our highest ranking in Alberta was 3rd because Western Canada was always better than us. Well, they beat us, and it's funny. We played Western Canada that year in North Vancouver. not even in Alberta. We met them in North Vancouver and played them. We lost to them by 6.
Was that when Ammon Crowfoot was with them?
Yeah, Ammon was with them. Yeah.
Another one of our old teammates.
Yes, we got to bring them on the pod.
We do.
Yeah. Come so we lost pod, to Western Canada. Yes, come on the pod, Ammon. I know you're listening. Yeah, and then Raymond's always a top tier team. But yeah, that Kelowna. Sorry, I kind of went off track there. It was awesome. It was a good tournament. I'm kind of jealous of you. Although you got that Western Canada tournament, I get Reb. So
yeah, that's true.
Kind of balances out.
I've been to Western Canada before for a couple games, and I can say like really, really good, strong teams. And nothing against it, but like Reb is just a whole another thing. Like it's just a whole another beast itself, and it's it's tough to compete with that one.
Yeah, my grade 11 year, we played against Kelly Olynyk in our final, and I think he put back slammed on us like 3 times in that tournament. he was playing point guard as well. Forgot to mention that. Yeah. Stanley yelling at us, just take the ball away from him. It's like, I can't. I physically can't. I can't. He brings the ball back here. Like, he's 6'9". We can't do anything.
Yeah. No big deal.
Shout out Kelly Olynyk, come on the pod.
Yeah, and while you were there, like, what did you see? This was, a while back now, but just what did you see, like, when you're playing in that tournament against like mostly BC schools, and then in comparison to what you were experiencing at that time with Alberta schools?
One of the things that I've experienced when I was there, the first thing I experienced was White Rock, St. George's, and Kitsilano, I think. Each of those schools had absolutely massive centers. Like they were just bigger teams. And I think our tallest guy on our team was probably 6'6" or 6'5" or something at that time. But they had length. And I was wondering, like, what do they feed them here in BC? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
jeez.
yeah.
I mean,
There's always really strong teams here in BC, especially in the lower mainland. Just like the population there, and just the amount of like talent that they can drive their programs from. It's just kind of unreal. And like BC has great basketball, and we've seen that
absolutely.
in tournaments ourselves. Like going to these like Indigenous tournaments in BC, like it can be like really really tough. It was an eye opening experience for me when I came to play over here.
I remember one lady who came and worked in Musquecheese. She came from Prince Rupert area, and they live and breathe basketball. It's the only thing that they do. The basketball is definitely a priority in BC. Alberta, we're slowly getting there to a point, but hockey's still number one, and hockey for the Prairies will always be number one. But we're getting there for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely could see the Alberta basketball growing. Yeah, and it's exactly what you said. Like, especially with a lot of the communities on the coast, basketball is what you do. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's living in the community, and there's so many strong teams along the coast, and that play in the especially the all native basketball tournament that's coming up in February. That is a huge deal, and everyone fully prepares themselves before they go.
We're waiting for our invite.
Yeah,
They all
invite
need it.
us. Yeah, invite us.
Invite the War Scouts. We'll bring
Yeah,
a good squad. I promise you.
I'll come and support.
Coming up next is our discussion with Lyle Tootoosis.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
XA.
All right, we're here with our interview now, Mr. Lyle Tootoosis, a very special friend of ours, a great guest we've been looking forward to, one of the co-founders of the War Scouts basketball team. We go way back. So yeah, I'll just read Lyle's bio before we get started. Lyle is a Kahkiyaw nephew from the Poundmaker Cree Nation in Treaty 6 territory. He grew up immersed in Kahkiyaw culture and ways of knowing. He's grateful to have some traditional knowledge of his nation, but also aware that he's a lifelong learner and has a lot of respect for youth and elders. He's traveled all over the world, participating in Indigenous events, various celebrations, round dances, and powwow ceremonies. He currently works for the Edmonton Public Schools as an Indigenous program lead for the Bennett Center. His passion is to revitalize traditional culture and bring Indigenous ways of knowing into education and community to make Treaty 6 a more equitable place for everyone. How you doing, Lyle? Great to have you here finally.
Hey, good day, good day. Doing good.
Awesome.
How are you
Yeah,
guys?
thanks for good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. I'm actually really excited. I was kind of nervous at first because I haven't really talked a lot of ball and haven't really like thought back in terms of like my beginnings, my humble beginnings. But yeah, so I'm pretty pumped.
That's all good. We were nervous too when we got started. And I think a lot of people reminded us of that. So it's all good. All right. Okay, Lyle, tell us about about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what are you up to these days? Yeah, just let everyone know who you are.
All right, cool. Well, my name is Lyle Tootoosis. Um, I back where I grew up is in Poundmaker Cree Nation, and in that area as you know, like as a youth, I grew up being called Sweet Pea. It was a nickname that I was given. And when I go home, sometimes people ask me, "Hey, I heard you. You know, like I heard your brother's around. Where's Lyle?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm the same guy." Around here, I get that a lot, but back home, you know, a lot of people know me as Sweet Pea, and I grew up in a small community of Poundmaker, running around, visiting and and playing ball with my brothers, and I grew up that way, uh, you know, culturally, but also um, very like athletic. Uh, in our community, we always tried to like try different sports and get involved as much as we can. You know, our parents were really supportive in that way for us to always be active and a part of something. So it kept us busy. At the same time, I grew up with intentions of always trying to learn, always trying to learn as much as I can, and that opportunity to travel. A lot of people would know me as a singer because I traveled lots, and along those ways, you know, I'd play ball here and there when I could during supper breaks, meeting a lot of people, and and through that lifestyle. Along the way, learning as I go, I'm I try my best to carry myself in a respectful way, but all you know, in the humblest way that I know how, and through the drum and I started dancing again. Is something that I did as a when I was younger, but it, now I'm able to do both, sing and dance, which has been like really awesome because you know my basketball injuries have kind of slowed me down to be able to to do what my mind would want to do out in the basketball court, you know, and uh, hitting 42 now, and it's something that I've always wanted to do is play ball till I get old, you know, and I would rather like have that being able to dance and sing and play ball till I can't no more. And that was always like a thought of mine. So I've always tried to play safe and do things in a safe manner in terms of like not doing anything too crazy, trying out like skateboarding or you know, snowboarding or off-road biking and stuff like that. Too much of that craziness.
Lyle, when I have some students of mine in Muscocheese who are dancers and are singers, and they're often on the power trail, and they're asking who our next guest or who our first guest is going to be, and I told them it's Lyle Tootoosis, and they knew right away. They knew who you were, and I said yes, Poundmaker's finest.
Yeah,
Celebrity.
celebrity. Yeah.
So
I was gonna
go
say
on.
that. Sorry, I was gonna say that a lot of times when it freaks me out sometimes because growing up singing and playing ball and traveling, I know a lot of people, and sometimes I in the most out of respect, you know, like I'm always kind and and thoughtful of others, but sometimes I can't put names to faces and like I always say, like, well, a lot of people know me as a singer because I traveled lots, but I know a lot of people, but a lot more know me because of me sitting at the drum and traveling and stuff like that.
Exactly. So Lyle, this is a Indigenous basketball podcast. Me and Name kind of in our first episode just talked about our general upbringing and how basketball has sort of shaped our lives. I know you do powwow dancing and singing as well, but how did basketball help you? Or how did you grow to love the game of basketball? And sort of what was your introduction to the game?
Hmm. I think for me it was my brothers, more specifically my brother Clyde. Um, it's something that him and my older brothers were into quite a bit, and I wasn't really like into it as much, but seeing them do things with the basketball was what was pretty cool. You know, shooting threes, and that laughter of like that happiness that it it took us to a place where we were able to be creative and have good times with friends and family, and um, just that excitement of having a basketball, even um, the humble beginnings of like how expensive a basketball was back then, you know. And it was I was in the middle of like going back and forth to hockey and basketball, and it was cheaper. You know, a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, and some shoes. You know, and sometimes we'd have to wait for one guy to get to the basketball court because he was the guy with the ball. You know, and sometimes there was like really humble beginnings like that, and um, I fell in love with it because it was something that we all enjoyed to do, my brothers and I, and it was a way of it took us out. It took us out into a place that was gave us opportunities to travel, kind of go to different tournaments and games, and I liked it. It opened more doors to possibilities instead of just going to powwows or round dances. It gave me an option, really, of excitement and enjoyment. So it was very awesome because sometimes I always even like to believe that I'm a strong believer that at a few times it saved my life. Um, there's a lot of times where you know my brothers or myself were we went through a lot of hard times, you know, grieving and loss, or even like these relationships, that these bonds and kinship of a family, you know. And basketball brought that support and gave us that outlet to 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 enjoy ourselves, but also take us away from that mental game of depression, or um, just gave us that place to be young and enjoy ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Lyle. I think yeah, Mike and I can relate to all those feelings that you've been sharing about basketball there, and it's probably why we've all connected so well over the years. So, what do you remember about how we all met and how we all came together? Obviously, it was basketball, our love for basketball that brought us together. What do you remember about those early days of us all playing ball together and meeting?
Yeah. There was this one time I came to when I moved to Edmonton. I went to this gym I got invited to, and I met these two guys. They're asking me for change as I was walking in. Like, but I came to Edmonton, and uh, I was kind of like already. I wouldn't say I was well known or anything like that, but I had connections of like guys I met at the powwows, and they'd invite me out to play ball. One of these guys is Jacob Alexis. Um, but we used to go outdoor a lot, and then I remember we met my our late friend Alan Ross opened up the Boys and Girls Club, um, and I remember I met a lot of you there, and it was through our the team of ENBA that I met a lot of other guys too, and it was just open nights, really. Alan used to teach at this school, and kind of almost close to the Commonwealth, and we would go play there, and that's kind of like how I remember it. And we had a lot of really good times because through that ENBA we were times kind of like concealed to like where we could go or who was on the team, and it was a really good start out for us because making those connections and those friendships but then we talked and had a lot of good laughs, and we talked about being independent, going out on our own and starting something that we thought would where we could have more control with, like with how we wanted to do things in terms of like where we wanted to go, and use what skills we had through the years of basketball, with like the like, even not having a coach, but we you got, like you two would help us coach, and who was starting and subs and the basics and all of that, and opportunities where like everyone on the team had brought some skills where it really helped our team start out. I think it was a really interesting time, because um, it was opportunities there like that where that leadership came in, and honestly, I just followed lead. I never really, I had a couple ideas and tried to bring that excitement to travel or to do things, and to go out and practice and play ball and invite others, so that we'd have some really challenging 5-on-5s, or rain or shine. I was trying to get people to come out and play outdoor ball, and things like that, where ball was life at one time, and it was just anytime, anywhere. I was just being ready, and yeah, that's kind of like how I remember it starting out.
Yeah,
Humble
those were some good.
beginnings.
Yeah, humble beginnings. Yeah, and those were some good runs we had at Boys and Girls Club, and we get a ton of people out there. And yeah, Alan. If it wasn't for Alan, I don't like it. I don't know if we would have came together the way we did as War Scouts. And thinking back to him giving us his time when he has like a family of his own, and opening up the gym for us and being there for us, that was really meaningful for us. And he'd bring his kids and stuff too, so like it was a part of his family to do these kinds of things. But those were really great times, and I appreciate those a lot, and meeting both of you that way. And yeah, and back to what you said, like Mike and I would help coach and stuff, and Mike was in charge of the bench. He'd always leave me on the bench and wouldn't let me play.
Running backwards.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm playing 48 minutes out there.
Yeah.
Lyle, you mentioned it just at the end there. War Scouts. What does War Scouts mean? How did you decide on a team name like the War Scouts? What's the meaning there?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I was talking to my wife about this interview coming up, and the podcast and the War Scouts, and I was like, oh, they probably want to talk about the name, hey, and how you started out and playing ball. And I was like, yeah, exactly. And we started laughing, and I was gonna. You guys got the wrong person on this interview, because it was actually Jade that came up with War Scouts. We were both. Well, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, as a we were sitting there and we were talking about a name, because the first tournament we went to, we were in North Battleford, and we went as E-Town. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we were like, well, we didn't have a name, and I was just excited to play in my hometown in North Battleford. And after we came back, we were talking about like what we were having kind of conversations of what name to put out there. And we were talking about drum group, teasing each other about drum group names and stuff like that. And then she remembered War Scouts, and I was like, shit, that actually sounds really cool, and it's a really good idea. And there was actually around that time, I was singing with Blackstone, and there was several groups came out of Blackstone. And so I talked with my brother Randy Paskaman, and he started a group called War Scouts. And I talked to him about asking him if I could use that name. And then my brothers and my wife don't really know about this conversation that I had with my late uncle, who I took as my dad. And I think it was some of that nervousness coming from doing this podcast is because it was a memory that I hold on to, because his teachings and the memories I have with him, or I wanted to like, kind of like sometimes keep these to myself. And um, I want to, yeah, this reminds me that I want to really call my brother and my uncles, my by blood, he's my cousin, but we grew up and he's my brother. So I wanted to share this story with him, but also share with him to watch his podcast. Um, but when I talked to him about the War Scouts, that I was really set on it, because what he shared with me, the information, and also what I shared with Name about the War Scouts. Um, and I'll just share that back in the day, a long time ago. Story time. No,
Here we go.
there was he was telling me that a long time ago, this was like you got to kind of put yourself in back into time of like when indigenous people, Plains Cree, were in teepees. There was no apartments or buildings, and the elements of life were really, really, really important. The sun, the your fire, and the the ground, the land. And when there was camps, tribes, they had warriors. Every tribe had warriors. And this is like when they rode horses, and they had to hunt off a horse, or do tracking and trapping and all of that. Um, he said that every tribe had scouts. He said they they would that they were basically the best of the best warriors of that tribe. And they would we still have these what would you call sometimes societies or clans. We still have those in our ceremonies. But back then he said there was always scouts that were really good trackers, or would always like practice with their bows, and were really good riders, would be able to like almost like Indian relay, be able to jump off a horse or jump on really quick. Were really, really good at tracking animals, or always can rely on them to come back with some meat. Or it also too, like it was a commitment to be a part of these scouts, because they always put themselves before their tribe and their people. And he said that sometimes they would leave to protect their people, because sometimes they what I meant by that, they put themselves before their tribe or their people, is because sometimes they would leaving they would know sometimes they might not return, they might not come back. So where I got that the scouts from is from that story that he was telling me. And where war came in is that they would scout, they would go ahead of their people, and like they would have a perimeter where they would protect and always check on where the camp was. They had this perimeter, and sometimes anytime they would hunt, or they would see riders coming over hills, or they would have to go. They would go and get intel. For example, it's almost like today, where we have military, we have the U.S. forces, and they have like what's that like the elite above that? What would be an example of that? Uh,
The Navy SEALs.
Navy SEALs, yeah. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like that. So it's the best of the best trackers, hunters, fighters, and they would go and get the intel by trying to not start a war, but they would scout. How many horses did they have? how many warriors did they have? How many people were a part of that group? And they would come back, and they would come back, and they would give that information to the tribe, and they would either kind of have someone scout to make sure that they passed by, or if they were coming in their direction, they would come back. They would have to race back and say, like, this is how many people are coming, how many horses they have, and that they would prepare for a battle if necessary. So these war scouts, they were very high in battle of in terms of like protecting and putting themselves above and uh, uh, put them their bodies on the line. And sometimes while scouting, sometimes they didn't return because they would they would have to fight right there, and sometimes they didn't return. Um, but that was the one of the stories and teachings that my late dad shared with me, and I always remember one of my fond memories is like when I was sleeping, he would be making breakfast, and I would be sleeping. My brothers and I would be sleeping in the basement, and I'd hear him dancing, listening to like old school like mandaree powwow music, be dancing around. And you know how at powwows where they have men's traditional, where they have the sneak up, and they always tell those dancers to tell their story, and that's where it originates from. Is like those warriors, they'd come back to their tribe, and they would dance, and they would tell their hunting story or their battling story through their dance. And he said that that's kind of like what kind of like inspired him to be a traditional dancer, is like that old style of a warrior, and and I always kind of like admired that. I always admired that. And when I gave tobacco to Randy Paskman that we're gonna start a basketball team, and I really liked that name, and I didn't want to offend him or make him think that, oh well, we just came up with that, or else even my wife, how we were talking about, like, she was like, oh, you better be ready to make sure you're ready and know what you're gonna say. And I'm like, well, I was just speaking from the heart, and I don't specifically remember it word for word, but um, like that's something that I've always tried to do in a respectful way, is getting permission and getting that the rights to use names or not have historically facts right. And at times, like that name, the War Scouts, I would stand behind. That's something I would stand for, because why I really liked it is because when we're as a basketball team, we're practicing. You practice to be the better you on the basketball court. You try your hardest. You and then at some point you pick your starting five. Well, the starting five, yeah, we're a team and we support each other. We're all warriors, and I thought of it as that, like that. And the starting five were our War Scouts, like they're the ones that would start out the game, and that all the warriors on the bench, like we were always striving to be better, so that we can earn that spot of a starting five. And and that's just kind of like what kind of like triggered me to like War Scouts. That's the one, that's the name, because that's what really had my energy going, or why I wanted to like go out and practice and live and sleep, dream ball. Like that was it was really humbling and honoring to be a part of something like that, especially knowing that we started it from scratch. It's that's it's part of who we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's my first time hearing that story. That's so cool. I never, and I never connected that with within the basketball terms, in terms of War Scouts being the best. And using that as your starting lineup, and then you want to be on that lineup. You want to be a War Scout. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
even how like we were like, you know, you guys are doing your tournaments and you know, with youth, and how we were always encouraging our younger players to come out and play. You know, like that's the modern day scout. You know, being a part of you know, of something so strong, and giving opportunity for youth to be a part of something. And I think like it was named back then, where we're like, yeah, we'll hit some tournaments, we'll meet new players, and we'll scout some young wheels to, you know, play ball. I'll just paint at the 3-point line, just making jokes, you know. But you know, that's I just I never really like I said, I was just kind of like keeping that to myself a bit, you know, because those kind of things, you know, like are very spiritual in terms of connection. And I was really happy that, you know, you invited me to share that story, and because that now it has somewhere to live, and to see you guys carrying out that and continuing doing the work is that feels makes me really happy.
Yeah, like you said, it's always important to pay your respects, always pay homage to the creators who originated our name. And I think that's why Name and I decided on having you as our first guest, to be able to let the people know exactly the meaning behind War Scouts is.
Yeah, it was very important for us to honor you that way, Lyle, just because of like how you being a co-founder of this team brought us all together, and you know, having all these shared experiences together have been really awesome. And that story is so powerful. And I remember when you told me that when we were getting this started, you said that this is what our name is going to be, and I knew how important and special that is. And whenever I went out there, and even outside of basketball, and I knew I was on this team because of what you told me, I wanted to carry myself that way. And I wanted to ask people to be on our team who represent that, exactly what you said. You know, it's always important for me to be mindful of that, of who is going to be on our team and who's going to be representing us, and representing what a War Scout is. And I've never forgotten that conversation we had, and it yeah, it was it made me feel like I was part of something special, and I'm really thankful that you brought that name to our team.
I never realized that the sixth man was called Almost. I didn't realize that until now. You guys tell me that.
Yeah, yeah. And as I got older, you know, because you want the best of the best on the floor, that's why Mike was always benching me. All right, Lyle. We're not going to take up too much more of your time. I know you got to go soon, but what's your best memory of us playing together?
There's a few, and I think for me, one of the is, well, we were War Scouts, but as when we were E-Town and we went to North Belford, you know, my brothers, my family didn't really get to see me play a lot of basketball, in terms of like when I was in Poundmaker, we were called Poundmaker Chiefs, and I played with my brothers. And but going out there to show them that I'm still playing ball, that I'm still part of a team, and making new friends, and being independent that way. It was really nice to have my late brother come out and watch us. I remember him sending me pictures, and when we didn't win, but we didn't win the tournament, but it was just that being part of creating a family. I think that the beginning stages is what was really, really nice, because we weren't just a team of players that went to tournaments. We were like a family. We were starting a family of friends. And I think like traveling together, visiting, and how we were joking around, and some games, you know, it was all laughs. It was so much fun. It was just so much fun. And and it's just part of my growth. And I think the other time, one of the other memories I have is when we went to Kamloops. In the tournament, there was we made it to the finals, and I was burnt out, man. I wasn't as energetic as I used to be, and uh, getting to the finals, I was burning myself out because I knew that I wouldn't have a lot of energy in the finals. But we we met up with this team who had this All American guard who was just dropping threes, and I remember that Mike, you were kind of holding him down, like guarding him, and we were really close all the way up until we dropped down by 6 points, and we were just getting frustrated with the calls, and the refs were just being real difficult, and almost making us feel like one-sided, and so it felt like we were battling the team but also the refs, and it made it, you know how basketball gets sometimes. But there was a moment where I was like, well, I'll go out and play, and I went out, and I was just having fun and whatever, and uh it was down to like almost like 2 minutes, and we were down maybe like 8 or 9 at this point, and the guy was just so mouthy, you know what I mean? Like he had so much talent, so he was so good, fast. He was almost like Chooch, like Mike Linklater, that energy, and he was just real mouthy and loud and yelling stuff at the bench at us, even while he was playing, and we're like, what's wrong with this guy, and it was
What did I do?
what did I do, man?
I remember that.
So, one play I remember, he was dribbling, and he got tired out because you had both sides blocked, and then he tried to pass, and I blocked it. I hit it, and then he just kind of like tried to run back, and he was running behind me. While I went in for a layup. After the ball, I laid the ball in. It fell in, and then I grabbed it, and then I was gonna run back and just kind of like roll the ball behind me to the wall, because he came running, and he's like, give me that. I was just kind of like, what the hell, like to be just to be funny or whatever, I was like, all right, well, here then, and I pretended to sign it. And I gave it to him. Here then.
Yes.
Everybody just started busting out laughing, and he grabbed it, and he's like, just kind of like shamed out, like that I gave him my autograph. He had to throw it in, but he was just, that was just good because it humbled him, and at the same time, like it was just one of those moments that the laughter is what I remember. A lot of the like encouraging laughter on the bench, and even while we were playing, it was good.
Yeah, I totally remember that. I laughed myself, and now, honestly, I was gonna share that story too, but you took it, and you took it home, and yeah, that was so great. That was so great. I remember just busting a gut, and like everybody in the gym just erupted, and we're laughing, and I was like, man, it was like this point in the game, and this guy's signing the basketball for him. That was great. That was great.
Our next little segment, it's a rapid fire, but really it's a would you rather game. So the game is relatively simple. The only objective is to choose one out of the 4 following options. And now you have to decide which of the options is the best possible option for you. Okay. I'll preface this by saying that because we are an Indigenous podcast, we have a twist. Each option is something that we've all definitely experienced playing res ball or at native basketball tournaments. And each option is going to be what you experience on the daily. So this is you're stuck with this your entire life. Alrighty? Got it? Okay. Option number 1 is you have to have cheese grater roads for everywhere you go. You know what cheese grater roads are?
Yep.
I think we've all experienced cheese grater roads. I lived in Enoch for 3 years, and I think my car lost like 10 years of its life on those roads. Option number 2, no paper towel or soap anytime you use the washroom.
Oh yeah, I gotta go with the roads, man.
Option number 3, concrete floors anytime you play ball. And then option number 4, anytime you play ball, there's always a roof that's leaking water. And we've all been there. We've all played on concrete floors. And I've played in a basketball tournament. I think it was Sixica, and the roof was leaking, and they literally just put a pylon in the middle. Told us not to go there. Okay. Do you want me to go over the options again?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'd have to go with the cheese grater roads.
You're going cheese grater roads?
Yep.
Just so everybody know, Lyle drives a Hummer to and back from work. That's why he's able to choose cheese grater roads. Okay, easy, simple.
Well, do you guys have time?
Yeah. Absolutely. Of course.
All right. Well, I got a question for the both of you. We're all, basketball fans of NBA and other outlets. Name. Would you rather airball a 3-point shot or miss an open layup for the game?
Oh, I've probably done both. Not for the game, but
all right.
Yeah, I think I'd rather airball a 3. It's not as bad as missing a layup, in my mind.
All right. Mike, what about would you rather? I wrote these down. I looked these up specifically for you guys.
Oh, here we go. Perfect.
Would you rather get posterized with a foul by Giannis Antetokounmpo or get your ankles broken by Ja Morant?
Oh man. So
and both would be showing on sports highlights for a week.
Well, I gotta say, our good friend Barrett, Bear, we call him. We were playing on an 8-foot net, and there's a photo out there on the interwebs of him. We were playing this stupid block and dunk game where I attempted to block Bear, and Bear absolutely posterized me, and his chest and his nipple just scraped on my cheek, on my face. No, I'm just kidding. No, I never heard the end of it. Even to this day, Bear still talks about it. So I'm gonna say ankle. I've rolled my ankle several times, so I'm okay with the pains that come afterwards with that one. Posterization. I guess I could justify that. There's no way that I'm gonna be able to stop Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, but you'll be famous either way if it was Giannis.
Yeah.
You got to show the photo now, Mike.
Maybe we'll.
And it sounds like you might have your next guest.
Yeah. Please, Bear, tell us about the experience, what it meant for you. Yeah. Hey, Bear was commenters on YouTube. He said just a couple of guys being deadly.
Shout out to Bear.
Shout out to Bear. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me and inviting me to the podcast, guys. It was honestly really. I enjoyed it, but also just my favorite part is just to share like that history behind the name and that process, because it was something that I think only name knew about. So yeah.
Thanks a lot, Lyle. We appreciate you and everything you shared with us today. It was an honor to have you here with us.
Yes, absolutely. And thanks to everyone for joining us today with Lyle. Hi, ish, nish, magwech, masicho. And send me all your other thank yous in different Indigenous languages.
I'll put my my email e-transfer in the comments here if anyone wants.
Okay, right. Thanks, Lyle. Hey,
right.
Thanks, Lyle.
Take care.
What a great interview that was.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, yeah, that was awesome for our first interview. And yeah, really, really great to have our friend Lyle here.
I was not expecting him to come back at us with a would you rather. That was hilarious. That was good.
Yeah, it surprised me. So any thoughts on that interview, Mike?
Yes, I think it's so important, and I mentioned this in the pod, to always recognize the individuals who were the inspiration behind something. So even Lyle paying homage to his uncle, who he saw as his dad, and so like paying his respects to him, and being able to share this meaning and story behind War Scouts, and I think that's so important. And for our podcast, that's sort of our goal. We're only two podcasts in, and we're starting to see some things that we're able to do with the pod, and it's to be able to tell stories just like that. And so much of our culture, our indigenous culture, is based on oral storytelling, and it's so cool to have a platform to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that interview was awesome too. Like I just like when he was telling that story, it just like took me back to when he was sitting down with me. We were talking about it. Yeah, it was a beautiful, and I'm so happy you got to share that. And honestly, hadn't realized that you didn't hear that story before. And like I personally felt like I couldn't go out and tell that because Lyle was the one who was sharing that with us. So I never really told a whole lot of people about the meaning behind our name, but I always remembered it. And I was just always like really mindful of that. Yeah. So this week, by the time you hear this week, the All Native Basketball Tournament is starting up in Prince Rupert. It's a week long. If you get a chance, look up their tournament info on Facebook. You can also Google search it. They upload the bracket, all that stuff. All the games are live streamed. So if you get a chance to watch, check it out. And yeah, looking forward to the next one, Mike. Any parting words before we go?
Again, I'm trying to come up with the sign off. My last one, I told you to get some sleep, and I don't know if that's the right way to go about it. Hi ish magwech masicho.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and someone told me, "Oh, Mike must be new dad, telling you to get some sleep."
Yes, that's right, exactly right.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, we'll catch you next time.